All right, Chooms, welcome. How you doing? Glad to have you all here. I have with me a special guest, none other than Luke The Goon. Luke, what's going on, buddy?
Going on, sir? AKA the Dark Future.
Oh man.
Some of you may know me, probably not though, because that was like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I think that we were doing the podcast. We were kind of working in tandem there for a second.
Actually, I have the video right here. Let's see, what does this say? It says 3 years ago for our first episode, but I think a year before that we were like chit-chatting, talking about Cyberpunk and getting things like being hyped about the video game and all that stuff.
Yeah, because believe it or not, back then there weren't that many people covering specifically the tabletop game. Like nobody. Because me and I think we were in some Discord server. It wasn't the one that was run by us, I guess technically. It was a different one. And I asked him, like, are there any, content creators that I can look at on YouTube? And he's like, no, there's others.
I
And I was like,
know.
well, maybe I'll have to do it myself.
The
And John
only
was like, yeah, okay, if you do that, let me know. And so, yeah, I started doing the damn thing.
Yeah, dude, the only people that made content for Cyberpunk at the time of me making content was Seth Skorkowski had like a few videos. It wasn't his main focus. And there was Mr. Welsh, who also it wasn't his main focus. He does like all kinds of other RPG content. And believe it or not, Artel Sorin themselves had a couple videos on YouTube, and that was about it though. There was no like deep dive. There was no, how do I make a character? How do I run a game? What's combat like? None of that stuff.
It was
And
slim pickings. I think even the 2077 content at that time was kind of slim as well.
Yeah, very slim, very slim. But nowadays, like I watch those 2077 videos to learn about lore in
Yeah, yeah,
Cyberpunk.
yeah. Because eventually, hopefully, we get that supplement or separate game or whatever it was that Pondsmith was teasing a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean it has to happen, right? Some kind of 2077 supplement. I'm sure it's going to be amazing, dude. Amazing, just like anything else. But yeah, Luke has always been. What's up to everybody in chat, by the way? I want to say hi to all of you in chat. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Hope you're all having a wonderful Independence Day. If you're American, red, white, and blue, America. But
Home of the brave, right?
that's right, home of the brave, land of the free. But yeah, we're Luke hit me up yesterday. He said, "Hey, you want to do a podcast together one last time?" And I'm like, "Dude, yes, I'm going live tomorrow. Let's just meet up and do some chatting about some old
Yeah,
school
it's
stuff."
funny because I hit him up because like we never really ended that podcast, and that kind of stuff eats at me. It's I'm always like, I want to have one final hurrah, one final whatever. We were talking before this; it might not be the final one, but anyway, maybe the last podcast of the future, but we'll have more discussions probably in the future. But and because we never really ended that podcast, and I think, well, basically what happened is we were doing the show. We did like 10 or 12 episodes, I think, and COVID happened. And I think John, I think you got COVID. You and your wife got COVID, I think, at one point.
Yep.
And it was like things just from there, just everything just, everybody knows when COVID happened, the whole world fucking fell apart.
Yeah.
So, and then we just never reconnected. I kind of started doing something else. And obviously the 2077 fiasco happened. And that disillusioned a lot of content creators I know at that time. So it was a whole lot of things that I think happened back to back to back that we just never ended up doing another podcast. And what's funny is we also had another project going on in the background that we'll talk about at some point, whenever we're
Yeah.
talking about this.
Yeah, yeah. It was a crazy time because of COVID and the game coming out. The game had like a controversial release, obviously. And a lot of content creators were like, "Oh, I put all my eggs in this basket, and this game sucks, and I'm gonna quit," which is fine. I didn't think the game sucked. I love the game, but that's for another discussion. But what basically happened was a lot of people they decided to migrate away from Cyberpunk and maybe try other things. I think that's what you started doing. You were always like a guy that was into horror movies. You were always into is it called Juggalos?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know what you would call that culture though.
Yeah. That'd be that's an accurate description. Yes.
But it's
It's
not
more
just
of like
ICP though, right? It's not just
it's
them.
more, I'm more into, there's an offshoot band called A La Zulilu. And I started following them. I'm actually friends with those guys now, personal friends. So yeah, I went down that road pretty much, and I don't think it was with me. It wasn't. I think I have ADHD basically, and
Mhm.
like when I when I didn't have, like, my interests are always all over the place, and they're always separate as well. Like I have friends that are in this sphere, I have friends that are in this sphere, and I have friends that are in this sphere, and there's no bleed over. And
Yeah.
I go hard in the paint in one aspect of it. And I think what I tend to do is I tend to try and create relationships, and I try and create bonds in those so that I don't stray. If that makes sense.
Ah, gotcha.
So
So
that like I
you commit
can't go
yourself.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I can't, so that my ADHD brain is not like, okay, time to move on. It's like, oh no, you have this thing going on, which was at the podcast for me at that time, and a lot of the other stuff I was doing. And when COVID happened and that stuff was gone, really, for that period of time, my mind wandered. You know what I mean? And then that led me over to what I was doing with. Really, what happened is I did a couple offshoot videos on my like personal channel, and those did really well. And so
Mhm.
it was like, I guess I could start doing content over here as well. And then that led into doing management now. I'm managing technically 4 guys now. One of them is a wrestler.
Hell yeah.
And so, like I said, that's like my bond that's going to keep my attention right now in that world.
You became a real life fixer, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically.
Robert Evans in chat says, I hope there are more episodes in the dark future. Look, there's gonna be, all right? I love Luke. Luke is one of those people that when I first started doing this, he was such a positive force in it that it gave me motivation. You know, when you start something new and you're like unsure, you're in like unknown waters. People like Luke and the community that helped me out, they really like gave me the confidence boost to keep going and doing this. So I love Luke. He's my boy.
John's doing. Me and John, we trade pleasantries every once in a while on social media when we see each other. We haven't like talked in a long time, but we give each other nods every once in a while. Hopefully we do that more often now. Like I said, with this doing some shows and talking and stuff, because there's a lot of cool stuff that we'll talk about here soon too, coming up.
Yeah, I'm down. I think it's very healthy to have other interests. I mean, I got into Warhammer, and anybody who's a fan of mine knows that if you ask me to talk about it, I'll never shut up. So, and it's always good, you know. I'm a family man. I just came from a family trip. Like you got to have different things going on in your life, and I think that's completely healthy. So, you know, just because you walk away from something doesn't mean you quit. It just means you put it down for a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's about it. Tell me about Luke. You kind of touched on it a little bit. You have this management company going on. Are you telling me you got a wrestler or a
Yeah,
singer? Like, what's going on here, dude?
I have. Yeah, I'm now managing a wrestler. That was like brand new. Because like with the management thing, I don't hide it. Like I don't like for the most part, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
That's the
They all know
best.
that. It's like getting my feet wet basically in that sphere, right? But I've been part of that scene for over 20 years at this point. So I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of like artists that draw or whatever. I know a lot of musicians, and I know a lot of venues. I know a lot of people. So it was like these guys need help doing whether it's getting art done, whether it's whatever it is, beats, being booked for a show, whatever it is. So I had another friend that was in the scene that was talking about managing a different artist. And he was like, and me and him were talking, and he was asking me questions about stuff. And like that
Wow.
got me scratching my head, being like, he's doing it. I could probably, if he's asking me questions, like what's stopping me from doing this? And at the time, I was doing a lot of content. You know what I mean? I was doing a lot of videos. I was doing, stuff like that, like face forward stuff, however you want to call it. And you even know this with the Cyberpunk stuff. I never intended to be in front of the camera.
No, you
That
didn't.
only happened because I got the chance to interview Mike Pondsmith at Gen Con. That's the only reason why I ever got in front of the camera, really. And so,
Real bucket list moment right there. You actually
yeah,
went to Gen Con. You had the microphones. I remember you telling me like, dude, I hope it sounds good. Like, it was so loud, and it actually sounded amazing, dude.
yeah. Thankfully, I know if you watch that video, there's like a second where it's using the on-camera audio. And I remember John, you telling me when you heard that, you were like, "Oh no."
Yeah, I was like, oh, poor Luke.
And then it switches over to at the time I had my old iPhone that still had the headphone jack. But and I had mics hooked up onto that. I had him all lapelled up. I was all lapelled up. And yeah, that was a crazy moment. I mean, we were talking about Gen Con, I think, before we even went live. And that was a whirlwind of stuff because I got to talk to Cody and Mike and Jay Gray from Artel Saurian, all really cool people. Yeah, that was a crazy. That was the height of hype for 2077 for Red. So it was a really that whole period of time. I get nostalgic about that period of time a lot because the hype and everything around that period of time. It was so exciting to be in that sphere at that time.
Yeah, man. It was. This was before the game had come out too, right?
Yeah, which is part of the reason why the hype was so high because there wasn't the release hadn't happened with a lot of people being disappointed and whatnot. It was everybody was still expecting, uh, everything that was promised. Which, like you said before, I played on PC, so my experience with the game was very positive. I pretty much loved it from the get go.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
I I'm not. I know other people had problems, but for me personally, I when I played the game, I don't think I really had hardly any bugs or anything that happened to me. Um, through
Nothing
personal
serious for
experience.
me. Nothing. It
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't like for me. There was like one time where I had to like reload a past load,
Hmm.
and it was like a game breaking moment. But it didn't break my game. It just broke my momentum. You know
Hmm.
what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean? And I went back, and then it was fine again. And then there's T poses here and there. Like I get
Hmm.
it. I get it. Like people, the argument of like I buy a game, it should be ready to go is just not going to be the case anymore. Not with
Yeah.
like the budgets and the AAA industries and all the different work that goes into it. It's just not going to happen anymore. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I think like what the PC launch was, if they would have got that on consoles, specifically previous gen, it would have been good. But
Yeah.
obviously previous gen got got kind of screwed over. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get the logic of doing a previous gen because you want money, like, most people have those consoles, so you want to get that market, but it was obvious that it didn't help them in any way, that stuff wasn't working.
Yeah, yeah. Whoever had them, I think they'd reached a point where they pushed it back so far that they were like, "Look, we just got to push this thing out."
Yeah, yeah. But hey, Phantom Liberty looks really good.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing that they've done. That's you have to commend them for is they've constantly been patching the game, constantly been working on the game, and I mean with this patch they're like redoing like a ton of systems. They're finally adding like the kind of like transmog system where
Hmm.
like style is separate from your armor, which is really cool. Completely doing the skill system. I'm really hyped for it. It was one of the reasons. I mean, it was. I think it was the Keanu Reeves interview that they did on the official Cyberpunk 2077 YouTube channel, and I was just got like that was where I reached that like top tier hype where I just was like grinning. Like I was so like shining, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
so excited at that moment. So excited. It's actually a combination of that and something else that I wanted to touch on a little bit, which was Starfield. Those
Yeah.
two things happening like right around the same time have got me like to heights where I was hyped during Cyberpunk 2077 hype, which doesn't happen that often. Where I get like it's funny because just the other day I was thinking like, man, I haven't been that hype. I haven't been hyped for a game in a long time. And then when I saw that direct for Starfield, I was like blown away,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like I was like, holy shit. And then obviously the Phantom Liberty stuff came out too, and I was like, this is awesome. So
Yeah.
it's so good to be kind of like because I mean Starfield has some cyberpunk, especially if you look at some of the city stuff, looks really cool. It's got kind of like I think they even called it like the NASA punk style of the game that they're going with. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
So I learned my lesson. I think I did the wisest thing being John the Wise. As soon as I realized that Cyberpunk 2077 won like 400 awards before it even came out, I'm not even exaggerating. I think that was the number. It might
Yeah.
have even been more.
Hmm.
It won 400 awards, but nobody had played the game. And I'm right there. I was like, all right, this is the biggest red flag I've ever seen in my life. Right here, right now, I'm not watching anything about it. I'm not watching interviews. I'm not watching sneak peeks, YouTube channels, nothing. I'm just going to wait till the game comes out. I'm going to play it no matter what. I don't need to know more about it. I know it exists. When it comes out, I'm going to buy it.
Hmm.
And I did exactly that and had a great experience. Like, I cannot say anything bad about my experience playing Cyberpunk. I'm doing the exact same thing with Starfield, baby. I haven't watched a single. I've seen clips, like small clips, TikToks. I swipe the page. I go to the next one. I don't want to know features. I don't want to know anything. I love Bethesda games. I've hundreds of hours in Skyrim. I know, Trump numbers, but so Starfield is gonna be no different. I'm just gonna let it hit me. You know what I mean?
I think that's why I've allowed myself to get so hyped for Starfield because I know like Fallout 4 had problems at launch, but they weren't that bad, like in my opinion, when I played it. Um, like all those games, Skyrim, all of them, they all have problems at launch, but overall the experience is really good, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm expecting out of Starfield. I'm expecting, at worst it would be a Cyberpunk 2077 at launch, which for me was perfectly passable.
Yeah, yeah. I think Fallout 4 suffered from having a weak story. is what it really did. Like, I don't think anybody bought into the story all that much. The payoff was not a good payoff. There was some like good stuff in the middle of it with the synths and stuff. That was like a
Mhm.
cool like Blade Runner esque kind of storyline. They even had the synth
The
guy being like Deckard. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was fun, but like the whole payoff about his son and everything, it just I don't. It fell flat for me.
Yeah, it's funny, those Bethesda games, I almost never follow the main story. Like,
Mm.
I always do the side quests. I always just, like, for me, those are like exploration games where, like, I always explain it to people where it's like, because, I've talked to people that have never played these games. I'm like, it's like you're walking and you see something off in the distance and you're like, oh, what's that? And you go over and you explore and it's like a dungeon, not really, dungeon. And you go through, you kill all the bosses, whatever, you find cool loot and then you walk out, and then when you're walking out, you see something over there, and you're like, "Oh, what's that supermarket over there?" So you
Yeah,
go over to the supermarket. That's how those games always are to me. Like Skyrim, it was always like, "All right, I'm gonna do one more side mission. I'm gonna do one more side quest," and then I would find something else. So that's
yeah.
what I'm excited for Starfield with. It looks like Starfield's gonna be more like Fallout 4 with like the base building and some of those aspects, but
Yeah, I think what excites me about Starfield is they're taking the two concepts of the two games that they make that I love and joining them together. Fallout, every time I played it, the immersion was I would end up somewhere and I would be like, "Damn, what happened here? You know, what was this place before the bombs fell?" And then you read a terminal here and there, you see like a skeleton in a bathtub with a gun in its hand, and you're like, "Oh, okay, something. This is what happened." You put it together. That's fun. And Skyrim, it was like, oh, what is that place? I wonder what's going on in there. And then you go and there's like these magical whatever vampires trying to kill you and stuff like that. So
yeah,
Starfield is kind of going to be both of those things at once. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I think that's a good description.
Yeah. So, they can only mess it up just like Cyberpunk 2077, dude. They can only go down from here.
That's very true. They can only, yeah, especially like I said, like with my hype levels where they're at for that game. Yeah, it's only down from here.
Yeah, that's it. But what I loved about Phantom Liberty is I didn't know what to expect. Obviously Idris Elba. I'm not one to like be hyped about a celebrity appearance, but I think it's just the right amount. It's not like, dude, where there was a video game that came out recently. It was supposed to be like a GTA bank heist game, and it had like 100 celebrities in it. I don't know if you've seen it.
Hmm,
Someone in
I don't know.
chat, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Someone will mention it, but it was like hyped as like the characters are actual real actors. You could see their face, and it's supposed to be like GTA with these characters. It fell flat. It didn't work out. But this whole little bit of seasoning with Idris Elba is nice, dude.
Well, it's like the Keanu Reeves seasoning, you know what I mean? Like they threw Keanu Reeves in there and everybody freaked. That was one of the really cool moments of the 2077 hype was when Keanu Reeves was announced. So I mean, I think they've proven that they can actually add them in as actors as the character and not like, oh hey, that's Conor McGregor like they did in Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Like they're doing a good job of like making Keanu Reeves Johnny Silverhand.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. We got a $2 super chat from Scotty MFV Demigod.
Oh, Scotty motherfucking V, that's the homie right there.
He says, Goon Squad. Thank you so much, Scotty. I appreciate the
Hell
support.
yeah, brother. Thanks for tuning in, Scotty. This is a side that you have never seen before.
Dude, this is Luke the Goon in his element.
Yes.
Is this your wrestler guy?
No, I mean he's just a homie.
He's a homie.
Scotty's a
Nice,
homie.
nice,
Yeah, he's
nice.
a pretty big supporter of like, all the stuff I'm into, so.
That's awesome. Gotta love those supporters. Well, now Scotty's supporting me, and I appreciate that,
Hell
Scotty.
yeah. Thank you,
You're
Scotty.
you're the best, Scotty. Thank you. But yeah, that trailer was hype. It was just the right amount of intrigue. I want to figure out. I love that we're going down an alternate path with V because I do feel like the ending of 2077. I picked the worst ending. Unfortunately, I didn't know it was the worst ending,
You know
and
what's
so
funny is I've never finished the game. Like
uh,
I've left her sitting in the bar the whole time.
dude, I left her at the bar for
Because I
so
remember
long.
I did talk to you about the ending, and you were like, "Don't pick the Arasaka ending. You'll
Mm-mm.
hate it." and I was like, okay, but I've never, never finished. One, I was waiting for expansions. Like
Yeah.
my first playthrough is always like feeling things out, I guess. And then when I do a second playthrough, I consider that like my canon playthrough, where it's like I know what all the decisions are gonna equal to, you know what I mean? But I was waiting for an expansion this whole time, and now it's finally coming, and I've got my second character in mind.
Yeah, I held off for a long time going into that bar, but then I had to know, okay, how does this resolve? I got to know how it resolves. And I went into it thinking, by the way, spoilers, if none of you have finished Cyberpunk 2077, we're going to spoil a little bit here. I'll try to hide as much spoilers as I can, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the
Fast
game's been
forward
out for a while.
yeah, fast forward 15, 20 minutes if you don't want to see any spoilers. But anyway, I was like, all right, I'm going to do the corporate all the way. I want to be a corporate guy all the way. So I picked corporate from the beginning. I went corporate to the end. And I hated that Arasaka ending. It
Ugh.
was which look, I get it. The ending was basically Arasaka screws you over. You put all your trust in them and you think they're going to help you and they're like, oh, sorry, we lied. We're not going to help you. And I get it. It's a commentary on corporations being soulless and just, lying to you, treating you like dirt, and then your life is meaningless. But it just didn't feel right, It didn't in the Cyberpunk Red universe or Cyberpunk universe, if I'm playing it on the tabletop game, I would think that my character got promoted or reached new heights or started their own corporation. That's
Mhm.
the progression I wanted to see, not the a sad ending because the big game basically told me, "Oh, you picked the wrong ending
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you
Were
joined the
you corpo?
corporation."
Were
Yeah,
you corpo
I was
from the
corpo
beginning?
from
Okay.
the beginning all the way from the so I was
Yeah,
like, I'm going to
you'd
commit.
think if you pick corpo and you went that route, you think that would, yeah. I guess that was the other problem that a lot of people had with the game, which I agree with, is that the what do they call it? The classes or whatever, corpo, street, nomad, um, they didn't have much impact on the game.
Hmm.
Which was I agree with that criticism a lot actually, because it's literally after you get out of the intro, there's like not much that's gonna like affect anything.
Yeah, it's clear that they had ideas that they didn't follow through with. Like that's what it was.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
glad they added in the extra apartments too. That was cool touch there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are things that, like, you add in DLCs and stuff. Like, that's what I would have expected from those things. But I think, like, the car chases and maybe that whole beginning intro where you and Jackie are going around shooting people and it's just a cutscene. I'm like, wait, stop. I want to play that, dude. Everybody agrees that everybody wants to play that part of the game.
Yeah, I think more stuff with Jackie in the beginning would have been cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though you still feel that death like pretty heavy when it happens. Um,
Which is a testament to them, dude. You only see Jackie for a small amount of time, but he's so charismatic and fun and introduces you to the Cyberpunk universe that you're like, oh man, I love this guy. And then boom, he's gone. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Very meaningful. There's actually a rest in peace Jack on that thing right there. And my son always asks me, he's like, who's Jack? What happened to him? Oh man, so yeah, I'm hyped about Phantom Liberty. Hyped to play it, hyped to check it out,
Yeah, it's gonna be
and
kind of like a spy thriller, I think they said. So I'm interested. Hopefully they bring us to that casino that's on the outer limits of the map that they haven't done anything with.
yeah, that would be fun. There's also a mod where did you know there was going to be like a train system, like
Mm.
a monorail system? You can actually see it in the game. There's a monorail system throughout Night City, and it's inactive because it just was a feature they couldn't get going. But the modding community finished the job, and now there's like a mod where you can like take the monorail around Night City and stuff like that.
I love modders so much, man.
Dude,
That's the other thing that's
modding.
gonna be cool with Starfield too, is when people get a hold of that game, start modding that game. I used a couple 2077 mods. I think even
Yeah.
they added the third person thing now in Cyberpunk 2077. The modders did like crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, that added so much depth to the game. I've tried all kinds of mods because I was like, I'm gonna get a monster PC and run it on the best mods and this and that. And turns out the monster PC was not monster enough. It It was a baby monster.
What did you get? What graphics card did you get in that boy?
No, it's a 2070 when
Okay.
2070s were good. Now, like, it ain't shit. You
Yeah,
know
now
what I
they've
mean?
got the 4090s are out now. Those things are
Exactly.
beasts.
Yeah, no, I have to get an upgrade soon. It's coming up. That time is coming
Yeah,
up soon.
I'm just getting my upgrade now actually.
Yeah.
Partially because of Starfield. Starfield pushed me to be like, man, my computer's old now. I need to upgrade that.
Wait, when does it release exactly? Do you know?
September, early September.
Okay.
It's going to
Okay.
be September 6th, and then early access begins September 1st, and then Phantom Liberty comes out at the end of the month. So that's going to be a. I'm not going to leave the house.
Yeah, so September. Yeah, we got a no latency in chat, aka Paris, saying 4090s are having a lot of problems. I'd wait. September,
Mm.
yes. Yeah, September. That's my son's birthday. I'll give him this old PC and I'll get myself a nice little upgrade.
Uh, Probably.
Uh,
I mean, 3080s I heard are pretty good. 3080 Ti's are pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I'm gonna get a new computer, I'll just do like everything as high end as I can. Hopefully, it'll last me for a little while. Raf3 says in chat, I like the cutscenes in 2077. It fills that void to imagination, so that portion becomes different to each player's imagination. Yeah, I get that. That's actually that. I think that was the intention. The intention was they're trying to fill in the blanks and tell you like, this guy's your best friend because look at all the things that you did together and
It
you
was like a
imagine.
80s. It was like an 80s friendship, montage.
Yeah, simply the best.
Uh,
Yeah, it was sick, dude, but I definitely wanted to enjoy that more, I guess,
yeah, I think just more missions with Jackie would have been cool.
yeah, because it was basically the Edge Runners anime was what that cutscene was. Because the Edge Runners anime takes place with David being nobody, and then joining the gang, and then doing gang activities, and then and then so on, so on. But they cut all of that middle part. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, they did. Yeah, basically you're at the beginning and then you're hitting your big heist at the end. Basically, it would have been cool to have a couple like you're on the rise missions, I guess.
Yeah, and Binary says, but also the fact that you wanted to have more time with Jackie and didn't, isn't that great storytelling? Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, man. Their story was great. Even though it had a bad ending, the one I chose, I've seen some of the other endings, I've seen alternate endings and all the other stuff. I think that the rest of it is beautiful. I just picked the wrong one.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they're also like depending on your relationship with Johnny, there's slightly all different endings as well. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
the thing I wish that would have happened with the ending is that I wish it was open ended. Because from what I've heard, it's not like you have to go before the end. You have to like reload before the end to keep
Yeah.
playing.
There's
Or it would have been really
no
cool if like after the ending you could just go out into Night City and just that way you could, do the DLC when it came out and everything else. But
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, the ending, huge 2077 spoiler. Red alert, huge 2077 spoiler in three, two, one. In the end, V dies, and there's nothing you can do about it. That was a bummer, but if you didn't pick the corporate ending, at least you die on your own terms. But if you pick the corporate ending, you die because Arasaka's like, no, we're not going to help you. You know what I mean? Which that's what felt bad. It was
I
like,
imagine they do that on purpose so that there is no sequel for V. So
yeah.
when they do the next game, they can just do a new story.
Well, Phantom Liberty, we see in the trailer, someone says, "Hey V," so I hear you want to get that relic out of your head, and that's what the story. It's like V has a new mission where somebody says that they can actually undo that ending, and that's what's really exciting about it.
Yeah,
We
yeah, yeah. I've heard
we
that
get an
there's
alternate
it'll
ending.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited about. I don't know if you ever played but I'm Binary Dragon. Oh, never mind. I'm reading something else. Um, uh, have you ever played that Scarface game? Back in the day, it's like a
Oh
PC
man.
Scarface.
I may have, yeah.
So that is a game that takes place. So they take the movie, and it starts in the last scene of the movie where he dies in his mansion and with the whole gunfight. But it's like, well, what if you survive it, and then what happens? And that's what the game is. And it's one of the best games ever made. Like it goes hands down as being one of those like really good movie games that no one expected to be good. And it's because of that idea of like what is this alternate world, and that's what we're gonna do with V.
Hmm.
Yeah, got you thinking now, don't I? Um, so let's see. Is there? Well, there is one ending that V doesn't die, sort of. Yeah, there's. I think there's an ending. There's a secret ending where you're sitting on the balcony and Johnny's like, "Come on, make a decision. Are we doing this or not?" And if you do nothing for an extended amount of time, then secret ending unlocks. And Johnny says, "All right, forget it. We're gonna do something else then. Let's do this, this, and this." And then like that's I think that's the uh, defeating the Reaper ending. Is that what it's called?
Hmm.
Turner 87. I agree. Scarface was the bomb. Chooms. There you go. One of those
Sounds a
good
lot like
games.
the ending to Mass Effect, where
Yeah,
like there's really you get screwed no matter what you do, pretty much.
it's just a
But
different color.
there is one Reaper ending where you're in the rubble and your chest goes up and down. So like, oh, maybe he's alive, maybe he survived.
Yeah, I had no problem with that Mass Effect ending.
Oh,
I think it was three
oh,
games, and it
hated it,
ended.
hated
It
it.
I didn't I it wasn't the best, you know, it wasn't like the best ending, but I think that them wanting to say that it's over and done with, I'm okay with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
didn't
hated
like
it
that
too.
there was no choice, you know. It was an illusion of choice. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I would
But I
have
mean,
rather
that's
had
kind of
it.
how those. Hopefully, they do away with that in like these new generations, where it's like they set you up like, oh, your choices matter, but they really don't, because in the end, they lead to like, they lead to the basically the same three. The joke was the rainbow endings in Mass Effect, where it was like, you pick like, I think it was like red, blue, or green or whatever. They had different colored endings that they had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it
So
was. It was just different color but same ending.
pretty
You know what I
much, yeah.
mean?
Essentially, yes, yeah.
Which sucks because they were always spouting about like you can take your past. It's the only game where you can take your past save and stuff that happened in Mass Effect 1 from your save file can affect 2 and then 3 and then characters are there when they're not supposed to be there or vice
Mm.
versa. So for them to at the end be like you have three choices but it's just three paths that lead to the same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, in chat, Liam Bohemian says the King Kong game for PS2 also allows you to get a good ending by saving Kong from the planes. No way.
I didn't know they made a King Kong PS2 game.
Oh, dude, that's wild. So Raph says that that's the ending. You got to have a high Johnny level to unlock above 60%, I think. Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like your relationship with Johnny will affect the way the endings happen sometimes too,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
interesting.
Raph
Because
says
as you're
which.
playing, I mean, I remember as I was playing, I didn't think twice about it, and then I read that somewhere, and I was like, oh, like I wasn't even really putting that much thought into like my responses to Johnny really that much. Um, Obviously, I was trying to be kind of cool with Johnny, so I don't know. Maybe that helped in the end. I don't know.
Yeah, I hated Johnny. I hated him from
Did
the
you?
beginning. Yeah, I'd never like even before 2077, like just his story, I'm like, "Oh, he uses people. People have died because of him." You know what I mean? That whole Arasaka bombing thing where he got a crowd of people to come and riot. People died there and it was his fault. You know what I mean? He instigated it. So I don't see him as a hero in any way, shape, or form. But CDPR, dude, the writers, they made me sympathize for him at the end because he was like, "Yeah, I'm not a hero. I'm a piece of shit." And I'm like, "Damn, so at least he's admitting it." You know what I mean? He's like, "I'm no one should follow me. No one should listen to me." And he gets to like reflect on all the things that happened in his past and basically face them and like V is like with him on that journey. And that's what made it really interesting.
That was some of my favorite parts of the game was the unreliable narrator parts where like you play as Johnny in the flashbacks and like you're seeing it through Johnny's eyes, like where he's like one-shotting everybody and like
Yeah, he's one-shotting everybody, and then all his friends are frustrated with him. And like you know, Eurodyne like yelling at him because like Johnny's being an asshole. I forgot exactly what happened, but it shows like how unreliable he is, how he's not really a good friend. He's just out for himself. You know what I mean? And that's what I hated about him. Binary Dragon says people die in Night City every day, Choom. Yeah, yeah, but I'm not gonna root for the cause of the deaths. You know what I mean? Johnny was. He
What's the
also
other cool
says,
thing about the other cool thing about the game was a lot of the Easter eggs that were in there, like little things that like you just went and you just like saw, you know?
yeah, like the Cyberpunk 2020 core rulebook being in the game, actual like you can find it in the game, and then
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
also in the game files.
It was also cool where you go to that there's like that I don't know if you want to call it a mausoleum, but there's like that cemetery area.
I
Like if
don't
you look at
know.
some of the names on the it was like how do I explain it? It was like a giant white walls, and on the walls they had plaques for each person who had like
Oh,
passed away. It was pretty cool.
I didn't. Were
There's
there
a
any good names on
there,
there? Any names?
there was a quest there was a quest that had you there, but it might have been a side quest that maybe you didn't get to.
The only
Um
memorable side quest for me was the guy with the Mr. Stud that wasn't working properly.
yeah, he's like on fire and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Roy
there was a lot of cool
Clymer.
stuff.
Roy Clymer says in Cyberpunk there are no heroes, only people who save themselves and those who didn't, I'm guessing. Those who died.
The Alt Cunningham was there.
Oh, okay. So Johnny's ex
Yeah.
girlfriend who
She had
has
like a
become an AI.
little placard there.
Yeah. Binary Dragon says, I think there are occasions of hope and kindness. I don't think. Did you find the talking vending machine quest? Yes, I
Yeah.
did find that. I think he gives you like a gun, right? He becomes a gun, a talking gun. I think like eventually.
There's a separate quest with a talking gun, yeah.
I never finished the vending machine one. I think I did. I moved the trash can, but I don't think I resolved like the next few. The Delamain quest with the cars.
Yeah, yeah.
That quest bugged out on me, and one of the
Uh
cars like bugged out, like flew off the
yeah.
cliff and destroyed. And then Delamain's like, I can't rely on you. And then like this quest failed for that save. So I was like, okay, well, I can't do this quest, I
There
guess.
was one quest that I remember being really dark, and I wish I could remember the way it goes, but there was a guy who I think maybe he got some bad cyberware or something like that, and you're like running around trying to find him, and like he can either like you can like help him or like he ends up like offing himself at some point.
Hmm.
I can't remember the whole, but I remember it being like really like an impactful quest,
They
you
had a
know.
lot. Yeah, they weren't afraid to go to like dark places, which is it's the dark future. It's supposed to be. It's not supposed to feel good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, the I really enjoyed that. What do you call it? The brain dance stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wish
yeah.
I wish you could explore that more. You know what I mean? Have some like side quests where you go into like various brain dances and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that would have been cool. I like the little like festival area. I thought was really cool with the roller coaster and like all the little carnival rides and stuff. That part was cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. Turner87 says, "Will there be more live games being broadcast with John reffing coming soon?" Right now, there are no plans for any live actual plays because it's just one of those ideas that I put on the back burner. Um, it's one of those things where if you guys have seen the podcast Infinite Sided Dice, you've seen how well they do their production. I highly recommend it. That's like basically what I wanted to do. And then, I was lucky enough to go backstage with them and see like what the process was. And they have like 8 4K cameras and they're in a studio. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that this isn't something I could sustainably do on my own.
Yeah, not
You know
yet.
what I mean? Yeah, not yet, not yet. But that's the eventual goal. I'll try to figure something out. I am going to be making content for Combat Zone, the skirmish game, which Luke, you and I, we interviewed John and Aaron on our podcast
Yeah.
of the Dark Future.
Monster Fight Club. Yep.
Monster Fight Club, and we talked to them about it. And the game is just now going to release 4 years later. Holy cow,
Actually, that
dude!
reminds me of something that I was gonna bring up too. Was and I don't know if that game became what I had seen at Gen Con, but I don't know if you remember that Friday Night Firefight game that
It
Albert
was a
Strange.
so that was a tabletop game, but that was supposedly a board game.
Yeah, it was like there was like a little board that was like maybe like this big, and you had like different characters that you could choose, Fixer, whatever, Rocker, and then it was just kind of like it was supposed to be a really quick game where like you play real fast and then you want to play again. That's the way Mike described it, like a beer
Yeah,
and pretzel game where you just sit down with friends, you play real quick, and then you're like, okay, best out of 3 or whatever, you know what I mean, best out of 5 type thing. So I don't
do
know. I don't know
you,
if that game became what that was supposed to be. I don't know.
from what I remember, it was not. It was not related to each other. They like specifically said these are two separate things. But
Mm.
I don't know. Was that something that Artel Sorian was working on, or was it Monster
Yeah, it
Fight
was
Club?
like at their booth.
Okay,
Um,
so that's what it was. Artel Sorian has their own game that they were working on that they still might be. I don't know.
mhm,
And it was supposed to be like a board game, and then Monster Fight Club was doing their own game, which is Combat Zone.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
Hopefully
it.
they keep working on it because it looked cool. And then the other thing that from that Gen Con that I was really disappointed never came out, and honestly at this point probably will never come out, was the Cyberpunk 2020 special edition that was supposed to
Yeah,
come out for like 2020. Yeah, because it would have been so perfect,
I
Cyberpunk
know.
2020 special edition in 2020. That will probably never come out now because it's, what, 3 years after they were supposed to do it, and so it's kind of like I would
I
still
know.
like the special edition Cyberpunk 2020, like hardcover or something. But
Chrome Edition.
yeah,
I think
something.
that's what we had. A rumor had gone around. I don't know if it's substantiated at all, but it was supposed to be like a Cyberpunk 2020 Chrome Edition core rulebook, like an anniversary edition.
Hmm.
When would it be the 20th anniversary or 30th anniversary? That's the
Hmm.
question. Why don't we look that up? Release of Cyberpunk 2020 core rulebook.
88.
November. Oh no, that's 2020. That's Cyberpunk Red.
It's
It was
like 88.
88, 88
Yeah.
or 89. So it would be 2028. Would be
Yeah.
30
So,
years.
so 5 years from now.
Yeah. So 5 years from now, 30th anniversary Chrome edition. All right, Artel Soren, if you're watching this, you can have that.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I
All
was
right.
super hyped for that 2020 special edition.
Hardcover. Well, let's get into this because now people are talking an edition. Yeah, there we go. What do you both think of the layout style of the TTRPG books in general? Do you either have a favorite layout? Yeah, actually, that's perfect. This is a great segue into what I wanted to talk about with you next. Luke is a big OSRS guy. He was like the guy that introduced me to OSRS. I didn't even know what it means. Old school revival scene. That's what it's called,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's basically these are the guys that play AD&D. They play all the like old school games, black and white artwork, and that was something that you said that you were hoping we would see in Cyberpunk Red. I remember
yeah.
you
And it was
telling me.
totally opposite.
Yeah, you
I
were
mean,
like,
even 2020, the book is very old school.
yeah,
All that really cool black and white artwork,
yeah. Let me
very
pull
old
a book
school.
out.
Even some of the rule set can be a little crunchy.
Yeah, like when you open the book, you'll see like the black and white stuff. This is live and direct. So there's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
supplement. You're gonna see black and white line artwork. I agree with you. There's something beautiful about this, like the black and white line artwork. There's something nice
yeah.
about it.
It's a charm to it. And with
Yeah,
Red, they went basically. I mean, I understand why they did it because they wanted to appeal to more,
modern.
modern audiences.
Yeah,
But yeah, they went totally the opposite direction. The kind of what I was hoping. But I mean, it still came out really nice. Um,
yeah. Honestly, I think I love the new art design. I think it's the right choice to make personally. To go into a modern world because it's going to open the game up to more people that are used to like these beautiful color pages with beautiful artwork, and they gave a lot of good work to independent artists out there, one of whom made that awesome cover for me on that DLC. So yeah, I'm a fan of that, but I would have liked to see a few here and there, like some
Yeah.
throwback black and white line artwork in there for sure.
Yeah, a couple, get in touch with their roots a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Mighty Game Reviewer. One of the best details I like is that each fixer have gigs that all tie up to one person or faction, like each zone having their own campaign within the game. Oh, we're talking about 2077. Yeah, I did enjoy that. Every fixer like had a quest line. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it is interesting. But that was one of my major gripes about the game is the game wanted you to kill everybody and work with every fixer, which
yeah.
would not fly in the tabletop game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can't just go around killing everybody, and then if a fixer finds out you're working with a rival fixer, they're gonna be like, "Dude, what? That's a conflict of interest, bro." You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so yeah, but you don't have to work with every fixer. You could choose one and play narratively. I was thinking of doing that. When Phantom Liberty comes out, I might try to do like a narrative style of playing where I'm not just trying to farm experience points and get the best loot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There has to be a story behind every decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely want to do more of like a netrunner type character with my next playthrough, because I always do every game I play. I do like the Terminator style of game where I just like max out, like my strength and shoot everybody.
Yeah. Well, guess
So
what? I had the same idea as you, and I'm like, I'm gonna play Netrunner because it's gonna be an offshoot. It's not gonna be the powerful one. The powerful one's gonna be the solo that shoots everything. But it ended up being the opposite. The Netrunner is a god. When you get late game Netrunner, you're like a mile away from a warehouse. You look at everybody, they all die, and then you walk in and you clean it up.
that
It's
can be fun too,
crazy.
man.
Yeah, you're just a god basically. No one
I
can
mean,
mess
yeah,
with
yeah. I
you.
mean, like we were saying with solo though, you're also like a god though. If you think about it, because it's just different way of doing it. Like when you're a solo that high, you're just like Terminator. Like you just walk in, you just like spraying people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah. But you actually have to spray. When you're a net runner, you freeze time and you're like, this guy commits suicide, that guy's grenade goes off, this guy's cyberware blows up. All right, unfreeze time. And then they're like, ugh. They all die.
yeah. See, I
Oh,
barely
man.
did anything with the Netrunner stuff. Like, I barely touched it. I touched it enough to like get through certain parts that I wanted to get through, where you needed like certain Netrunner levels, right? But
Yeah,
for the most part, I just played completely solo.
yeah. So tell me, this whole old school stuff, like, how did that come about for you where, like, you became so obsessed? And are you still, like, into it? You're still into old school
Oh
stuff?
yeah. I mean, it's what I started on. Like my dad had the old AD&D first edition books, and
Hmm.
so that was the first D&D I was ever introduced to. So I mean basically nostalgia, and that was my first introduction. So I just always kind of like stuck to it.
Yeah.
It's funny in the OSR world. There's always a new rule set that comes out that everybody's really excited about. And one just hit Kickstarter not too long ago that I backed. That the name is escaping me right now, but there's always a new rule set that comes out that people are like, okay, this is a little bit better.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a little bit better. This is a little bit better. Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
definitely a thing. But I've also seen people that are like, that's not my game. That's not the game. That's not the Cyberpunk I play. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
There's always like uh, curmudgeons or whatever you want to call it that the
Yeah.
only game that matters to them is AD&D first edition. We're gonna play first edition. We're not gonna play these new games. We're gonna play the way it was intended.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
even right now, like Warhammer has a new edition, 10th edition just came out. And there's folks that are like, I'm going to be playing ninth still. I'm not going to be playing 10th. And then there's other
yeah,
folks that are like, I never stopped playing third edition. You know what I mean? Which is cool, dude. That's all cool. But, you don't have to bring down other people because you like
I don't
the old
know.
school stuff.
Yeah, the new game that came out that I backed is called Shadow Dark,
Oh, interesting. What is that?
and so it's OSR rule set. You know what I mean?
Oh, gotcha.
Basically, first edition. It's probably not that much different than the other version.
Yeah.
It's just in the OSR world, it's like every once in a while there's a new shiny, there's a new rule set, and you're like, ooh, OSR, ooh, old school essentials, ooh, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, ooh, like there's always something basic, there's always something new that comes out that you're like, I want to play the new shiny.
Raf said, "Is that the book that's all black, Shadow Dark?"
Well, the book's, I don't think it's even it's not out yet technically, but
Let's
it
see.
might be. I don't know if I've
Shadow
seen
Dark
the
RPG.
proofs yet. I'm not sure.
Why don't we flip over to my other view here?
Yeah, I've got here's the Kickstarter.
There we go.
Yeah, I guess
Now
the book
flip.
is all black. It's got like a silver embossed cover.
Or is it by Arcane Library? Is that the one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow,
I guess
that that
the book is technically all black. Yeah, with some
that's a nice
silver
looking book,
embossing.
dude. PDF now available. Oh yeah, this looks like super gothic,
Yeah,
old school.
that's the stuff I love right there. The only thing I don't necessarily love about Shadow Dark is that it's mostly dungeon delving. And I've always kind of liked the city stuff and the, going through the wilderness and stuff like that. I think Shadow Dark is primarily, there is that in it, but I think it's primarily for dungeon delving, that's old school at its core, is the dungeon delving aspect.
Yeah, there isn't anything more old school than that, where you just like, it's a grid, you move your miniatures, and you do one damage, and the bad guys do three damage,
Yeah, and you have 2 hit points.
and you have two hit points. Yeah, it looks cool, man. Another book that's beautiful to me is I don't know if you've seen that Cult RPG with the K,
Sounds familiar.
Cult role
Sounds,
playing game.
yeah, yeah, sounds familiar.
Let me see if I can find it's with the K. Cult RPG. Divinity Lost. That's what it is. Called Divinity Lost. It has some of the most beautiful artwork that I've seen in that gothic style. I've never played it. Seth Skorkowski makes a bunch of videos on it,
Mm.
and it's very much into that gothic bloody style.
Yeah, it looks very like Dark Souls, Elden Ring
Yeah,
ish.
yeah. Demons, nightmare. Escape your nightmares. Strike bargains with demons and try to stay alive in a world full of pain, torture, and death. Sign me up. Oh, that's great. And then,
That's the other game I've been playing a little bit of is Diablo 4. I've been playing a
oh
little bit of
yeah,
Diablo 4 too.
you gotta play Diablo 4. I was always gonna play
Yeah.
Diablo 4. Dude, this angel's insane. I don't know who did this artwork, but another really good game that just the artwork alone is that Mork Borg game.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
heard a lot. That's another really popular rule set
so
that's
many
come out.
people have recommended it to me, and I'm sure it's an amazing game. I just don't have the time to get into another hobby, but this is such a beautiful looking book, dude. I
I'm not
mean,
a huge fan of that artwork, to be honest.
really, I think it's cool that they went in this direction. Like this is the
Yeah,
hit
it's definitely
points.
different, and that's definitely, I'm sure that's why a lot of people are into it, is for the artwork. It's very like chaotic, I guess is the way to say it.
It's one of those books where like I can just give it to someone that doesn't play tabletop role playing games, and they would just enjoy flipping through it and just
Hmm.
reading it. And then I tell them like, oh yeah, this is actually rules to a game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, I think all
But
those
something
things are important.
I think that you were leading into when you were talking about the OSR stuff is that me, John, and there were a couple other people. We were going to do a zine for Cyberpunk Red. We
Yep.
were gonna do, basically GM content, all that stuff. We're gonna get art for it and everything. And like we were like planning it pretty hardcore there for a while.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that's like when COVID happened. And well, that and Red got pushed back. Red
Yeah.
kept getting pushed back. COVID happened. It was a lot of different things, and so it never ended up materializing. But it was called Jacked In, and we were gonna do different gangs, and we had all different kinds of like supplements for GMs and stuff that we were gonna do. We actually had the guy that did the what book did he do? The guy that we had on board for it, he did like the Cyberpunk World book. You remember that?
Ooh, Cyberpunk World Book.
It was like a random generating cyberpunk book. Remember?
Oh yeah, who did that? I forgot. Was it
Was it
Smiley?
Paul Gallagher?
Yeah, it was Paul Gallagher, dude. It was
Yeah.
Paul Gallagher. He's the like OG first guy to make like a fan made supplement. What was it called, dude? I recommended it to everybody, and I still do if I could just remember the name. But it was
Yeah.
it was a book of tables and charts. Like the guy's obsessed with making tables and charts. Um,
I'm gonna see if I can find it here.
yeah, now we gotta find it, and you gotta tell me.
Augmented reality.
Augmented reality. That's what it is. Augmented reality.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty cheap. You can buy a paperback for $10.50
supplement.
on Lulu. It's pretty cool. It's like a
Limited.
basically
No.
it's like a world generator essentially. Like if you wanna, it's called the holistic city kit, and
Yeah.
it's like tables that you can roll on that will generate a cyberpunk city for you.
It's $2 on Drive Through RPG if you want the PDF. Oh, here's a little video. Why don't we watch this? Perfect.
Welcome back to Questing Beast. I'm Ben. Today's
Oh,
video is
this
going
is
to
a
be fairly
video
short
from
because this is a
somebody
remarkably straightforward book.
talking about the
It
book.
is
Can
a
you see?
city
Oh, wait. You know what?
toolkit.
Hold on. Time out. I should put it on our little thing so we can watch it together.
Yeah, I just went over to the tab. I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. There it is.
hey, here we go.
Welcome back to Questing Beast. I'm Ben.
Oh, it's
Today's
Questing
video
Beast.
is going to be fairly short
You
because
know them?
this is a remarkably
Yeah, he's really good.
straightforward book.
Okay.
It is a city toolkit along the same lines as Vornheim. If you haven't seen my Vornheim review, you can check it out right up here. Now, this is not for fantasy games, it is for cyberpunk games. It is called the Holistic Kit for Cyberpunk Role-Playing Games by Paul D. Gallagher. And this is for any type of cyberpunk game. It is completely system neutral. So you can use it for Cyberpunk 2020 or Shadowrun or The Sprawl or whatever game you're using.
Which, by the way, that's how you get around whatever homebrew policy Artel Sorian has, because it is not an open gaming license. You can make it for a generic cyberpunk game and sell it that way. But I do have to say, if you're gonna have it for free, they pretty much in their homebrew policy have said as long as it's free, you can use like our systems and stuff like that, and it always has to be free.
Yeah, which is kind of what we were planning to do, was to just put it out for free.
Yeah.
Some system neutral stuff, but it was just going to be kind of like a free zine that you could use.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe down the line they would have been like, let's make this an official thing. But they already have now an interface, which is, I'm just looking at it right here. This is volume 2 for all you furry fanatics. They got some cool stuff in there. So this is like their own personal zine. And,
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, let's keep watching this.
It will be useful for it. So if you're into cyberpunk role-playing games at all, I highly recommend this. And we're going to open it up and see why that is. So it is just random tables. That is all it is. It's definitely inspired by Vornheim. You can see the credit here. And it just has all of the buildings and the people and the items that you could possibly need to make your game easier. We have a drop-down table for creating city blocks. You can get a bunch of random cyberpunk buildings here. And use D10s, and then you can roll over here and see what the number on the D10s relates to for getting some more features about that building.
Yeah, that way you can just literally build a city one by one with a D10 chart, and like there's a pharmacy here, then there's an apartment, then there's this, and you go down the line with it.
We have roll D100 for some expanded building features, some quirky interiors for them, local conflicts and area events to keep your city feeling fresh and alive. We have alternate businesses, what the street is using old buildings for, urban sicknesses if you want a more post-apocalyptic feel to your game, legacy infrastructure, legacy data, weird clubs and nightlife that you can have. Oh, and one nice thing is that the titles of each page are on the side here, so you can just flip through the sides.
I love that.
Of the edge of the page, and you can just see what all of the titles are, which helps you find your random tables much more quickly.
Senses.
Smells
I hate this thing.
And sounds you see in this, of course, make the place.
I actually have to hit the pause button. If I click on the screen, it continues playing.
Alive.
Anyway, that's awesome that you can do city smells and sounds, because that's one of those things as a game master that I have a terrible job at doing. You know what I mean? When you describe something, people are always asking like, what's the best way to describe something? It's the senses. So if you could just roll 2 D100s, you could tell people what it smells like, what it sounds like, where they are. It really, really helps.
Yeah, what I use a lot of these books for is I don't even roll on them. I just use I just look at them and I pick the one that fits.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's like inspiration. You just look at it and
exactly.
you're like, oh, I would have never thought of like this, but I have it in front of me, so I can use that.
Yeah, choose instead of roll is an option
Mhm.
that I think people forget that is out there. You don't actually have to roll, you can just choose. The idea is this is supposed to like supplement your ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if like it's real fast and you're just like, oh shit, you just roll and look.
Yeah. And also, I do have to add, I know Paul personally. Like Luke and I, we met him through our Discord. We found this book and then connected with him. He's very much still an old school Cyberpunk 2020 player. He has this. I don't know if you've seen some of his stuff. Like he has like a map of South Africa that he made for his own personal Cyberpunk 2020 campaign, and it's like a detailed Google map world. He's like an amazing designer as well, and I'm like, dude, whoever plays in your personal game must love it. Dude, but anyway, yeah, we saw this and we had to talk about it. Let's see what else is up.
We also have the sites, of course, that you would see
Oh, by the way, how much time we got left with you?
About 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
in the city, what's on the big screen, infotainment over here. We have things that are on the road. If you have a car chase, have all sorts of crazy vehicles going by that you can crash into or explode or hijack or what have you. Some added features for those cars. What's in the sky, what's on the river, what's in the augmented reality. And most of the entries on these random tables are just very, very high quality. They're stuff that you would tend not to be able to think about on the fly. So it is doing a lot of your hard work as a GM.
Yeah, like looking at this augmented reality section, it says, number 5, political, aesthetic, rapid motion, distracting. So you're just seeing like flashing, vote for me, vote for the new city council, and then image style, technical, sci-fi. You know what I mean? You'll see like the blue light of maybe it was vandalized by like some local gangers as well. So that's why it's flashing instead of like being a solid blue light. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what he's saying is kind of what I was saying earlier, where it's like you don't have to roll on it. Like there's stuff on there that you wouldn't just think up off the top of your head, and you can just look at it and you're like, oh, I would have never used that descriptor, or I would have never thought of to add this to it, or whatever. That's what's always cool about these books to me.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
totally.
like I used to talk about it when we did our show before with John. John was like, I would buy books just for inspiration. Like I wouldn't even use the rule set. I would just look through and be like inspired from either the artwork or a particular rule that they use for different things, like encumbrance or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, no, dude, I was a sucker for a lot of those Kickstarters. They got me. I've got a couple Kickstarter books that I'm like, was I like one of 3 people that bought this? You know what I mean?
For you, which is exactly what you want for a supplement like this. We have a drop down table for NPCs, and we have first impressions of them if you just want something quick and easy. And then we have a lot more detail going forward. So random cabbies. And now you can simply read straight across once you roll on this, or you can roll multiple times and scramble them up and get your own completely randomized cabbie.
Hmm.
So, for example, it might be atrophied limb. He's a local. Reality TV shows suck, is what he's always talking about. And he has Tourette's. Or it can be any other combination of
That's
something.
great.
What's their poison? What the tattoos are like. We have things like corporate aristocrats, because mega
Wow.
corporations are, of course, a huge deal in cyberpunk games. So you might have something like Fatima Rashid seeks to dominate fixer networks for her own ends. She's a black operations executive, loyal to CEO, quiet, unassuming, but is in a rivalry with, and then you can roll another aristocrat and you can build a web of connections.
So good.
Yeah.
We have the games corporations play. So we have boardroom maneuvers here, whether it's testing new Bioware or cloning themselves or supporting a coup. And then the ways and means. How do they get things done? Maybe elite agents, maybe mafia money, maybe child assassins.
Sick. So many good ideas.
We have urban tribes, street gangs. So we might have something like the faceless fanatics, which are androgynous, mask-wearing nihilists. They fence and sell black market cybernetic limbs of dubious origin. They make use of another random street gang, and you have a web of street gang connections that are warring or allying in the background of your game. We have, what are they up to at the moment? random gangbangers, rumors and hooks. And we have the police over here, first responders, departments, response level, the job sheet, calling for
So
backup.
good. So good.
So much good stuff.
We have the fixers and the face men. So, for example, we might have Mr. Skin must painfully inject nanites hourly due to congenital illness. He is a blackmailer, small, unwashed, world-weary, and tired. Makes use of someone else.
Yeah.
We have a job generator. Now, of course, this is essential for any type of game where you have small groups of people running around doing jobs. You need lots of jobs. You need a job board. Your characters plug into the internet or whatever that equivalent is in your game and look up what's for sale. What do people need done? Roll up here. You have a ton of them, right? So it might be a cyborg wants to kill a junkie. Right? You roll
Poor
roll
junkie.
anything randomly. You put something cool.
He's
You
screwed.
have, things that need to get done. So
What
the
did he
client
do?
Wants to do an action to an item rather than to a target person. The two main types of jobs you're probably going to be doing. State-of-the-art technology. You have data mining where something has been. You have what's on the corpse. Right? There'll be plenty of dead bodies. You're going to need to know what's on them. Clues that can link you to other adventures. We have guns for hire. Huge variety of things you have here. So, for example, you have Pandora Frost, a classically trained pianist, combat medic, lives in her car. She has an inbuilt Scorpion SMGs, muscular, tall, casual with do-rags, and tried to kill another gun for hire.
That's so cool. You could basically
We
build
have Sonic Youth, social.
with that past one. You could build a whole gang for a solo game. Like, let's say me and you are doing like a duet game. I'm the game master, you're the player, and we're trying to figure out who your buddies are. We could roll on that past chart and like roll 3 NPCs, and these are your like interesting buddies that you roll around with.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is so good. We're almost done with this.
Social media that you
I don't know what
social media that you have around. We have Vendomat goods. We have random junk, which of course could be very useful in the hands of a intelligent and creative player. We have Black Ops, the biohorrors that your corporations are unleashing. We have Freak Fighters, the gig economy. We have Unlawful Trespass.
Wow.
And we have assets. So all of the crazy items and technology that you're going to find in a cyberpunk world that your characters are going to use, whether it's neural processors or smartphones or agents, or we have synthetic neural nets, or we have
This is so good.
driver assist link or whatever. Bugs in the system. Now this is very essential because in a cyberpunk universe, nothing should work exactly as planned, right? Everything is jury rigged. Everything needs to be modified, which means everything needs to have bugs. So this is great.
Oh, dude, the bugs in the system is
And we
a
have
great
hackers
one.
and slicers, which is the essence of a cyberpunk game. So I suppose you could use this to inspire your own PCs or to create NPCs. So for example, let's look at one. We have Seraphim, who's a child prodigy, invalid daughter of experimental neuroscientists,
Whoa.
who supports a rebel insurgency, is bedridden, trapped, and unloved, and seeks the service of another
Wow.
hacker and slicer.
That's such an interesting character.
And that's it for the game.
A little notes
So this
section.
book is kind of in a unique class all of its own. For one thing, it's free. The PDF for this is free. You should go and download it right now. And the
Well, at the moment it was free. I think it was pay what you want, and then there was, more hype for the game. I don't think there's anything wrong for Paul to want to get $2 out of
You know,
you.
say $2. It's well
Yeah.
worth it.
It's basically free. And he deserves it, dude. Look how much work he put into it. There's no filler, you know what I mean? Everything is like really thought of.
Yeah, there's no, nothing at all. It's just straight content.
Yeah, what's this guy's name? Questing Beast, if you guys want to check
Yeah,
out
he's
Questing
pretty good.
Beast.
It's funny that you picked Questing Beast because he's a big OSR guy.
Oh,
So,
really?
like, if you look at his channel, he's created his own OSR game called Knave.
Oh, that's why
yeah.
when I scrolled over it, it said Knave right there. That's interesting.
Yeah. So he's pretty cool.
Yeah, Paul used to was very active in our Discord community, which, by the way, Luke was one of the founding members of that Discord. So you might see his name every now and then in that Discord.
I almost hopped in when they did the what was it,
the 5,000.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I'll hop in or something. I was like,
We gave you a shout out. We definitely did. Said great things about you. And but yeah, it's crazy that we have 5,000 members now. It's that, and that thing is, it's such a positive place still. Like, people come, they learn about the game. I've seen people write in general chat a question, and then like 5 people answer the question, and they're like, "Oh my god, I've never had this experience in a Discord." Usually people are like, "Noob, get out, loser." Oh man. But yeah, Paul, we have a channel in our Discord called D10 or D100 charts, and the problem is that we've tried to like clamp down on the chatter there. People will be like, "Oh, that's a good idea," in the chat, but we're trying to just use that chat for the charts, and
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
it devolved and it didn't really work out. But Paul was the one that gave me the idea. He's like, "You should open up a channel in your Discord where people can make D100 charts or D10 charts." I'm like, "Dude, this guy's still obsessed with making charts." Oh man, I think he has more than one of those augmented realities. By the way, that's just I think there's 3 volumes.
Oh,
Let me,
wow.
let me double check here. Let me go to Geist Hack Games, and I'll switch over to that regular cam. Yeah, I'm seeing augmented reality, remote control. This is a new one actually. This is
Mm,
very, very recent. It's all about drones.
mm,
Sprawl Goons upgraded carbon. I think this is for cyberware that he made up. It's his own like Chromebook.
mm.
Sprawl Goons upgraded me. Yeah. Then there's all these other ones. These are like goons and NPCs booster pack. Yeah. Here it is. Augmented reality plus. It's free. $0.
There you go.
This is the drop grids, cloak and dagger, 0 hour contractors. There you go. So yeah, shout out to Paul, dude. I'm always down to shout out Paul.
Yeah. Like we said, we had him on board for this zine, and it was gonna be pretty dope.
Yeah, he was on board with our zine. Can you imagine that? Oh man. Well, hey, dude. I know that you have to get ready for work,
Yeah.
and who works on Independence Day? Tell them they're
Yeah, I know.
un-American. All right. So I think we'll let you go here, but I just want to say, dude, seriously, thank you for coming on. It was great to talk to you. We'll do this more often. And any plans for stuff coming up in the future that you want to tell folks about?
Well, anything that they would be interested in, I'm not sure. If you
Yeah.
want to check out my like YouTube channel that I somewhat update regularly, just go to lukethegoon.com. That'll take you to my channel. Uh, Maybe you'll see some Phantom Liberty stuff on my Cyberpunk YouTube channel at some point. The Dark Future. You can actually go to thedarkfuture.com. I still have that. Yeah. Nothing major planned right now, but always doing something here or there. Hopefully I'll be back here more often. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, hopefully you'll come back on sometime soon. You're always welcome on my channel. I love you, buddy. I really appreciate your support and all that. And I hope you have a good day at work, man.
Oh yeah, man. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me on. I didn't expect this to be this fast. Like we said, I hit him up yesterday. It was like, "Hey, you want to do one last episode?" I'm like, "Maybe like after Phantom Liberty comes out." I know that's a while ago. He's like, "How about tomorrow?"
Yeah, dude.
And I'm like, "Well,
I'm like, dude, when are we? Because I was looking at my schedule too. I'm like, I got all these things going on. And I'm like, wait, tomorrow I'm gonna be live. Hopefully, you can make that one.
yeah, yeah." So
Yeah.
thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, man. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
hopefully, we'll do this more often.
All right, buddy. Have a great day at work. I'll see you.
Oh yeah,
Thank you so much,
thank you,
Luke.
sir.
All right, folks. Here you go. Now you got split screen me. Let's just get right down back to business. Give me one sec here. Webcam work. Okay, webcam's not working. Give me one second, folks. Webcam is not working because I was using the webcam over here on Discord. So let me close Discord and see if it will transfer over. Discord quit. There it is. All right. No, you didn't break anything. You didn't break anything. Let's just go here. Video capture. There it is. We're good. We're good. So, Chooms, that was Luke the Goon. I hope you guys enjoyed him. Like I said, one of those positive forces when I was getting into content creation. So grateful to have met him. So grateful to have met people like him. And when I'm trying to do that kind of thing, it really makes a big difference when you meet people that can support you in the things that you love to do. So shout out to Luke the Goon. All right, let's talk about one other thing before we sign off here. We still have some time here. You're live with me. Thank you guys so much for supporting me on Independence Day. Hopefully the grills are just turning on right now and you guys are going to be ready for some hot dogs and some burgers soon. And why don't we talk about this right here? I got another cool YouTube comment. You guys liked the other one that I had, the one about, what was it? There was a game master. He had a bad experience. We talked about it. I even split it into a video, and most of you folks really liked it. So I got another one. This is actually a nice little. There's some discussion going in one of my videos. This is from Yeetmeister8996 saying, hold on, music is loud. Whoops. He says, I think I've gotten burnt out on being a game master, TBH, to be honest. I'm just not getting any more ideas. I feel stuck. I'm great at describing stuff and have great stage confidence, something I don't have personally. But I feel like I've just lost my complete creativity completely. I want to game GM, but I feel like I can't anymore. JT says, run a solo game for yourself and a journal of adventures. When you GM yourself, all your ideas will be hitting you at once. And Zekron said, dang man, I'm feeling this too. Hope that we can both figure something out to get that creative breakthrough we need. So I'm sure a lot of you out there can relate with this idea here of just hitting that creative slump. I mean, that's basically, that's par for the course in my opinion. That's stuff that I've seen all the time. I experience it all the time. I don't think it's anything new. But to be burnt out on being a game master, that's something else. I think those are two separate issues. Being burnt out and not feeling creative are two different things. But they can sometimes feel the same. You know what I mean? I think what's really happening here is Yeetmeister is not as motivated to run a game as they were in the past. Because I've been through this as well. When the motivation is not there to run a new game, to put together a long form campaign and really dive into some really cool stories, then you're just gonna feel like you're not creative. You're like, why aren't these ideas coming to me? Why aren't these ideas coming to my head that I always think about? I used to be able to just like, it was right there at the tip of my tongue, right at the edge of my mind, something I've been thinking about. But that's the problem. You haven't been thinking about it for a while. You've been thinking about something else, and that's because it's just not occupying your mind in the same way. You're not feeling inspired by it. And I think that's totally normal. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think anybody should ever feel like there's something wrong going on if they have been burnt out or don't feel inspiration. The last thing you should do is try to power through it, in my opinion. Maybe it works for some people, but it's a gamble, because if you just power through it and you decide like, you know, whatever, we have a game coming up, I just have to suck it up. Everybody's going to have a bad experience. You're going to have a bad experience. The players are going to feel like things are not the same as they used to be. You're going to be rusty. You're going to forget your rules because you're just not inspired. You know what I mean? So I think the best thing to do is to put the game down for a little bit, in my opinion, and play a completely other game. It could be a tabletop role-playing game. It could, or just don't play a game. Get into a different hobby. Do something else for a little while. And slowly let yourself become inspired to come back to the game and remember what you loved about it and what got you excited about playing it. There is such a thing where like the game becomes resolved in your head, you know? You're like, I've tried everything, you know? Maybe you didn't try everything, but you've tried most things that you found interesting, you know? In Cyberpunk Red, there are many ways that you can tackle running a campaign. The most common one is in a big city like Night City, and then from there you could do whatever you want. I explored the wilderness. I explored that nomad life of living out in the wasteland, kind of like Fallout style, you know what I mean? A little bit Fallout, a little bit Cyberpunk. And we had fun with that, but even then my players were like, hey John, this has been fun, but let's get back to the city, you know what I mean? And now I'm inspired to get back into the city and run like a legitimate Cyberpunk city campaign the way that your grandpappy ran Cyberpunk, you know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. So that can happen. Raf3 says sometimes music and watching movies helps with ideas when on a slump, but you're right, they are similar but not the same. GMing is like being in a band. It can't be all on one person. It's a team thing, but breaks help with creativity, as you mentioned before. Yeah, it happens to me with painting models, painting miniatures. At one point, I was taking on commissions and painting for people for money, like, you know, just making a little bit of side hustle. And slowly I started not enjoying painting. And I was like, okay, I know exactly what's happening. I've turned this into a job and I'm not enjoying it. I'm just getting it done because I gave someone my word that I would do it, and I have to get it done because of that. And I had to stop doing that. I closed commissions. Oh, that's your comment. Your Zekron. Oh, nice. Nice. Well, Zekron, hopefully this helps you, because we are talking about this being something that happens to a lot of us. So I put down the painting for a while, came back to it at a later date, and enjoyed it way more. Like, now I enjoy painting. I'm still painting again. I've been painting new stuff. I love painting. And I'm actually painting for commissions again because it's for my good buddies. It's for my friends. They're excited to play. I'll paint a couple models here and there for them and, take a little bit of money in the tip jar as well. No problem. No problem. Let me close this thing right here. Close this thing. So, yeah, but anyway, I think it's totally okay to put the game down and go try something else, become inspired, and then come back. Maybe you shouldn't be a game master. Maybe just be a player next time. And I've found that when I listen to like podcasts or play in games with other game masters and see how they run the game, it inspires me to be like, oh man, that's giving me the itch to want to run a game too, because I forgot how fun it could be to like put your players in this like kind of cool predicament. And then I also tried to think to myself like, oh, what would I do if I was the game master in this situation? And then I observe what the game master is doing instead of what I would do. And it ends up being a really fun experience, you know what I mean? But either way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling this way. We don't have to be playing Cyberpunk forever, but I feel like I'm going to be playing Cyberpunk my whole life. Will I be playing it every waking day, an hour of my life? No, I will not be. I'll be playing other games, and I do be playing other games. All right, I do play other games, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, it inspires me to come back. I get tired of Warhammer, and I'm like, all right, I gotta run a Cyberpunk game. It's been too long. Let's get back to it. You know what I mean? Hopefully, I'll play some Alien tomorrow. Alien RPG. We'll continue our story. That's going to inspire me to want to play Cyberpunk again. That's going to inspire me to paint miniatures, make terrain, look at YouTube videos of the subject, make a YouTube video. All those things come hand in hand. with the hobbies. So that's what I would say to you. All right. Let's see here. This one, I think we've read this one, but let me double check. Let me see if we've read this Reddit. How about what's going on the Reddit, folks, right? How about what's going on the Reddit? All right, wait, this is NSFW. Let me make sure that we're okay. Give me 1 second. Oh, it's a long TTRPG story. That's why I saved this. I messed up big time. New GM. Is this game salvageable? All right, let's do this. It looks like it's okay. Let's change up the music a little bit. I'm trying to find a good song for this. All right. Here we go. We'll play this. Liam says, I finally got into a better position, so I subbed back to the Patreon. Was really hyped to see that Alien actual play. Exactly what I needed before I run it myself. Oh, dude, thank you so much for your support, Liam. I really appreciate it. By the way, I just want to put this out there. Give me 1 sec. This is to all my patrons out there. I just want you to know that if you cancel your membership, I do not hold it against you at all. I appreciate the support that you've given me up to that point and beyond. It's all good. You know what I mean? If financial troubles or whatever, I also think, like, you know, it's sufficient. You gave your amount to say thank you, and that's the amount you wanted to give, and I appreciate it. No one is better or worse because they gave more or less to me, okay? I appreciate all the support that I get from all of you, so don't ever feel bad if you have to delete your patronage. And that's why at one point I was deleting names from the thank you at the end of my videos, my Patreon thank you. I was like, okay, if they delete it, I'll delete their name. But then I realized, like, why am I doing that, dude? They supported me. Why should their name be off of the thank you? I still appreciate the help, the support that they've shown me. Just because, you know, they can't give this year, then what? I'm just gonna delete their name off the board. It didn't feel right. I wasn't doing it for that reason originally, but that's how it ended up looking in my eyes. So basically, I decided to never delete names off of that board. If you've ever supported me on Patreon, your name will be on that board forever, and even if your name has to be this small. So that's that. Anyway, I appreciate it. Let's check this out. We got 30 minutes left on this stream. Let's check this thing out. Let's see if this person really mucked it up. All right, this is from Ad Specialist 7780 from 7 days ago on the Cyberpunk Red subreddit. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just in case you folks like to read at home. It says mild sexual essay warning. You can't. There's like trigger words you can't say on YouTube anymore. But mild essay warning, not super central to the story at hand, but mentioned, and I figured it's fair to give a heads up. That's the only reason I put NSFW flair. All right, just letting you guys know. If that's a trigger for you, now would be the time to turn off the stream. And this is going to be the last segment, so if you do, I appreciate your support. Thank you. Have a wonderful time. We'll see you on the next one. All right, anyway. I joined a nascent Cyberpunk Red campaign.
Nascent.
A very narrative-driven one, mind you, and set at 2077, given we all wanted to set it at the video game era. Yeah, at the same time. However, our GM disappears before the thing even properly starts. In lack of better options, I offer to take over despite my minimal GM experience. All right. Yeah, big words, Luke. Big words. Nascent. For those of you that don't know what nascent means, it is just coming into existence and beginning to display signs of future potential. All right? Just in case you didn't know. I mean, I knew, but just in case you didn't know. So they were setting a game in 2077. The GM was like, look, I gotta go. I can't do this. So ad specialist is like, I'm gonna be the game master. Even though I don't have much experience, I have little experience, minimal GM experience. Makes it sound like maybe this is their second time. All right? Might even be their first. I got 4 players. I hold a session 0 for them. Good start. We go over safety tools and expectations. Very good start. And stuff, and it looks good insofar, given how everyone seems excited. All right? First session, 1 player doesn't show at all. Standard. Absolutely standard. Cut them out of the group. That's fine. They were never supposed to be there. The ones who do are a mercenary, hereby referred to as Shotgun, due to his favorite solution to all problems. Uh-oh. Little foreshadowing there. Then there's a Netrunner. For those unfamiliar with the setting, literal wirehead whose gist is being able to use brain-computer interface to access computer infrastructures and process data fast, referred to as, well, Netrunner. So the reason they are saying, in case you don't know, this is a cross-post from RPG horror stories. So that's why there's a whole, defining what a Netrunner thing is. Anyway, and a journalist, referred to as Justice, for what she most sought to bring about. So already we got a pretty interesting group. I think 3 players is just fine. 4 players would be great too, but 3 players is just fine. Wow, I just told my players about this Reddit post a few days ago, Stefan Lewis says. Well, don't worry, we're going to be talking about it too. So we got a solo, a Netrunner, and a media. I think that's cool. It's interesting. So let's check this out. We agree on a backstory that these characters all owe money to the same people and they command them to work together. Turns out this was way too weak of a backstory, but as said, I'm still sort of green GM and didn't know any better. I don't think there's anything wrong with that backstory at all, actually. It's not weak at all. I think if they all owe money to the same fixer, that they would be forced to work together. I think that it would have been better to say that they all owe money to a fixer because they all worked together on a job where they borrowed money from the fixer, or something happened, they owed a favor to the fixer, and as a group, they are in debt to the fixer. It's not just one, and it's like, hey, if I'm going to go pay my debt, you better be there because you were involved in this whole situation. And maybe that's another way to do it. But it was on the right track, in my opinion. It was on the right track. Their debtors give them their first job. The debtors own a brothel called Clouds, where the sex workers are augmented with behavioral chips, which control their behavior to supposedly make them more pleasant companions. Sorry, give me one sec. Sorry about that. Except last few weeks, there have been a few cases where someone has supposedly overridden this programming and killed their clients. Uh-oh, can't have that. The debtors task player characters to finding out how was this possible and putting an end to it. Okay, so it's an investigation story set in a cyberpunk universe where a clearly cyberpunk aesthetic has intermingled with something that we all know and is a part of human history, which is the sex work industry. I think that's peak cyberpunk. So far, I don't see any problems. All right, here we go. Justice, the media, immediately objects to this, stating that she finds the whole concept of the behavioral chips detestable, which it is, but the premise of the plot line these characters have going on is getting themselves clean of debt to these people of questionable morals and intentions, and Justice was on board during session 0. Okay. She states her character will not do the job but go shopping instead. Okay. She adds she's fine with being sidelined for the session and curious about how others handle it. Okay, so that's the first major big problem that we have here. You can have as many safety tools as you want, but if your player is telling you that they're not comfortable with the direction that you're going in and you keep going in that direction, then the safety tools were for naught, you know. I'm not criticizing this game master. Once again, they said they're a new game master. There's a whole dynamic and stuff like that. But if somebody's like, hey, look, I just don't like what this is all about. I don't like this whole behavioral chips thing. Then they don't like it. I honestly think that that isn't the main focus of the story. The story is mostly commenting on the fact that that thing exists and like what a messed up world that we live in, that kind of thing exists. And of course, you know, collateral damage of it also existing is it caused someone to be murdered by it. You know what I mean? So it's like doubly worse. Which I think is fine. But hey, look, if somebody's not comfortable with that, they don't want to talk about that, then we can change it. It doesn't have to be behavioral chips. Maybe we can change it so they are actually, you know, like sex robots. They're not actually people, and the sex robots are going haywire. It's basically an appliance, and now the investigation is to find out what happened. Why is their firmware all of a sudden getting all jacked up? Was it a sabotage? Or was it like, you know, a latent AI that came out, like an aware AI that wanted to take over through this system? Is it a corporate that was setting up a hit? You know, all these things can happen. Basically this whole microchip and the thing is a small part of the entire story. But anyway, if the player says that they're okay with being sidelined and shopping and they don't want to be involved, I would say, like, no, that's not fair. You're here to play. We're not going to play the game without you. If you don't feel comfortable, then we'll change it because we have the ability to do that right now. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be awkward. You don't have to feel uncomfortable. We can, you know, change it. Give me like 5 minutes. We'll talk about it. We'll change it. And we'll make it something that's more comfortable for you because it's not a big part of the story. It's just a part of the story. Okay? But this part where it says themselves clean of these debt of questionable morals and intentions, and justice was on board during session 0. So it sounds like in session 0 they had some kind of discussion, but maybe the behavioral chip was not actually mentioned, which is the point of contention here. So I don't know the whole story. Session 0 is supposed to take care of stuff like this already. But it sounds like one specific thing is triggering for the player who's playing Justice, and that's something that, you know, hindsight is 2020. How are you supposed to know that? You know what I mean? But at the same time, if it exists, it exists. No harm, no foul. It's something they don't like to talk about. Let's just fix it right here and now. Liam says, yes, this seems like a tricky one because I suppose it relies on the idea that these workers consented to the chip, so it's not like the players can free them from servitude. Maybe they are debtors. Yeah. I mean, there's many ways you can tackle it. You know, you could just be like they're willing participants, and the behavioral chips just give them an idea of how to behave. But it sounds like a mind control chip is what it sounds like. It sounds like these people have no free will and they're being used in whatever sick form the people that rented them out want them to be. So, you know, this is I understand why somebody would be triggered by this. All right, so continuing. I'm low-key melting down as game master since I don't want to sideline anyone. For now, though, I carry on running the game for the other players. Don't go against your instincts. It looks like this player's instincts was telling them that this is not good, sidelining anyone is not good, and that is the correct instinct. Sidelining anyone while the rest of the game goes on is not the correct thing to do. I get it. You have to make a decision in the moment and be like, you know, we're just going to carry on then. But I don't think that that's fair. You know, you're basically sweeping it under the rug, and now it's awkward. There's an elephant in the room of like this person's uncomfortable. We're going and playing this campaign, and this person's uncomfortable the entire time that we're playing it. You know. Anyway, so I already know it's only going to go bad from here. Okay, we're like just in the beginning of this, and we already know it's going to go bad. Let's find out if it's salvageable. So Shotgun and Netrunner go to the brothel itself. Netrunner suggests that he hooks into their local system to monitor what's going on with the behavior control system. Okay? Once again, going back to the behavioral control chip, sure, it's triggering the other player. They wander in there, and after unsuccessfully trying to get a discount, get placed in a booth with a sex worker. Alright, so I take this as a mildly comedic scene, with Netrunner screwing a wall panel open to access cables running the local subnet, and the programmed worker trying to act out her programming and chat niceties with the PCs. Okay, I can find how that's humorous, but once again, we are still going back to the behavior chip that is triggering the other player. The other player is trying to be respectful and is saying, like, I won't be involved with this, I'll just be here. But it doesn't change the fact that they have to listen to this happening, you know? They're still triggered, more triggering. It's like the button's being pushed multiple times. Liam says, if the workers were only there under duress to pay off what they owe, it would be a lot easier to flip it and let the players take down the shady brothel owners. Don't know how they didn't anticipate that. Yeah, that's another way to look at it, is like, yeah, it's terrible, you know, maybe you guys could take down this whole thing, you know what I mean, if you wanted to. But, you know, but also, maybe that's derailing the game. Maybe the game master will be like, oh, you guys are derailing my game on purpose because you don't like the game that I'm trying to run. So either way, I think the correct thing to do, once again, is to address the thing that is triggering the other player and change it so that they can be comfortable to play. That's the only thing you can do. Anyway, so what they think is like a humorous little situation. I haven't read the rest of this, so I don't know how the other player feels, but I'm anticipating their need right now. They were triggered by this whole idea, and now you guys are like making jokes and laughing about it, basically. Netrunner requests Shotgun to chat with the worker so that he can focus. Shotgun, instead, takes out his shotgun and shoots her. Netrunner gives him a, what the F, dude? Look, Shotgun says his shotgun has a silencer. This is the first time I learn about that. There's no silencers in red, just as Binary Dragon just said in chat. Okay? Which, by the way, I've seen a silenced shotgun in a movie once, and it's so nuts, that big old can in the front. Anyway, I'm so flabbergasted about this that I don't even know what to do and let it pass. In retrospect, that's idiotic, but at the moment, I just blanked. Alright, you know, what can you do? They didn't know what to do. Hindsight is 20/20. At that moment, a gun has gone off. Silencers still make noise, okay? It's not like the movies where it goes pew, alright? That it still makes a noise. It's a shotgun. It's going to be a loud noise. Why did they even let you take your guns in the first place? They should have shook you down for your guns in the first place. You would have had to do a conceal reveal, and hiding a shotgun is almost close to impossible. So there's a lot of things that went wrong here, but at the end of the day, as a game master, if one of my players wants to shoot a gun off in a public place, I have to play that out. So what do? All the alarms go off. The entire place goes into, red alert. Security comes filing in. The police are called. Now, like, our whole mission is screwed. You know what I mean? That's what's going to happen. I think that's like the logical ending to this. Anyway, Netrunner then nukes their entire database in order to wipe evidence, and they get out of there. So they leave before anything bad could happen. Okay. I guess it's time to introduce some more serious adversaries, because the gang they attacked has ties to Arasaka, which those unfamiliar, well, we know what it is. I figure one of their executives could owe one to the brothel owner and come after the party. I partially chose this adversary because I figured justice hopefully wouldn't take issue in going against her. There you go. Okay, so look, there's some good faith going on here, right? The game master, I think, is making some good faith decisions. And maybe, even though some of the decisions I think are a mistake, I still think it's a good faith decision of, like, let's try to introduce an NPC so this sidelined player can maybe get back into playing. You know what I mean? That's the right way to think about it. After a close call with Arasaka hitmen, players want to figure out why are they after them. So they decide to hit an Arasaka facility, which really should be a suicide run, but they're taking none of my warnings. Okay. So Arasaka is after you, and your immediate idea is like, let's find the nearest Arasaka facility and kill everyone there? What? That way we can find out why they want to kill us, right, guys? You know, we'll just like shoot up the place and like we'll leave one guy alive and be like, why are you after us? He'll be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Oh, man. Anyway. So in they go under the guise of being a reporter team. Justice as journalist, or at least you got the media back in. And Shotgun as a cameraman. Yeah, that camera looks like a shotgun. Netrunner is doing this thing and trying to hack their servers to read the data. Of course, you know, your Netrunner got to do Netrunner things. Anyway, to keep this concise, Netrunner rolls extremely well and manages to get past all the countermeasures and gain access to the Arasaka servers. Great! Things are looking good. Things are looking good. Every time enemy program rolls for damage, they make meager numbers while his programs get all sixes. Instead of doing anything sensible... Instead of doing anything sensible, he states that he is going to steal all the data on the complex, not all the data Arasaka has everywhere, of course. I tell him that, alright, but the copying/deleting of such an amount of data is going to take time. Logical sense. Makes logical sense. So he asks Justice and Shotgun to buy it, which they are doing already with their interview. Buy it. I think maybe just to like give him more time. Given anyone hasn't detected the data theft yet. What does Shotgun do? Yes, you got that right. He starts blasting. Both Justice and Shotgun get arrested for murder of that Arasaka executives that they were interviewing, while Netrunner takes the data he stole. Okay, so, alright, so, okay. Hold on, let me stop right there, We had a big jump. So, Shotgun starts blasting, and now the Game Master has decided, okay, that's the last straw. I let you kill someone willy-nilly before, but now I can't let it go. The police have to come and be involved. The police come upon the area. I'm not sure if the Game Master gave them a chance to be able to leave, you know, to run away, to escape. But it sounds like either they were unsuccessful in being able to escape or the Game Master did not give them a chance to escape. Which I think that's a mistake in itself as well. But it's hard to try to salvage a situation when the player is just like, you know, chaos. Okay, well, this happens. Alright, you're in the next place. Chaos. Okay, well, I get it. You want to be chaotic. You want to shoot your shotgun. I get it. Okay. So, the police come. Justice and Shotgun get arrested. And Netrunner steals the data. So, he's successful. And he packs into a van and leaves. That's it. I mean, I think that's it, and I think the game ended there, and we'll read the rest of this. But that's the end of the session, is what it sounds like. Terrible ending, in my opinion. But it could potentially be salvaged. But let's find out. I think I'm the horror story here. I failed miserably as a GM. Is this salvageable, like, at all? I already received good advice from other subs on how to avoid this sort of thing in the future. What I'm looking for is second opinions on how I should have handled this. Or I should handle this. I'm leaning on a TPK. What? Holy shit, dude. Because I don't see a good out for Shotgun. Justice, maybe. Netrunner is also dead, probably. Because Arasaka would find him and kill him for stealing their data. Okay, I guess. I feel I need to kill off at least Shotgun and Netrunner for this to continue. Oh my god, what? Why do you need to kill their characters, dude? You know that if you... No, you don't have to kill their characters. Okay. But I know I should have done it during the session. Now it's gonna feel arbitrary. So he's like, I should have just killed everybody. All right, all right. No, you should not have killed everybody. TPK was not the answer. It's not the answer. An arbitrary TPK is not the answer. And a rational TPK or a logical TPK is still not the answer as well. Okay. So what happened here was the game master. Hey, Liam says, hey, that session we did? I'm not happy with it. Why don't we make it non-canon? See you at the next session, everyone. Yeah, there you go. You could easily do that too. There's many ways to do it. But what's going on here is you definitely stepped in a lot of game master traps that happen to new game masters. Okay, there are things that happened within your game, some red flags that you didn't see, some things that you didn't notice, and you handled them in a way that you thought was the right way, because maybe you thought it was like the logical thing to do, or maybe you were like, we're all here, like I gotta just continue going on. I don't blame you for making decisions in the moment, but this is after the fact, and your brain is going to TPK, so I think there's a big disconnect on what being a game master means, and what it means to, deal with situations like this. So I think where things really got wrong was, the first thing that went wrong was the media was triggered by a topic in your game. Okay, a cyberpunk topic that is a logical topic. It makes sense in the universe, but it triggered them. They didn't like it, and they didn't want to have anything to do with it. That should have been addressed then and there. At that moment, you should have stopped the game. Hard stop the game. And you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to change it. If you don't like that, it's a behavioral chip thing. I get it. I think I also agree it's messed up, because that's what you said. You said, yeah, I agree, it is messed up. It was just like a dark part of this world that I wanted to, I wanted to investigate and explore. It's a dark part of the universe that I wanted to explore, and I thought it would be interesting. But the last thing I would want to do is make anybody feel uncomfortable at my table. So you know what? We're gonna change it right now, and it's okay to change it because this is a game. It's not real life. We can change it anytime we want. If we don't like a rule, we can change it. If we don't like a part of the story, we can change it. If there's something on your character sheet that you didn't want to put there and you messed up, you can also change it, okay? I'm not going to punish you for something like that. Anyway, so at that moment, you could have changed it into something that the player would have been more comfortable with. You take a little potty break, everybody talks about it, you drink some water, you maybe hit some of the devil's lettuce, and you guys get back to the game. All right, so now in my mind, the media is back in the game, Netrunner's back in the game, and the solo's in the game. We're all playing together, everybody's comfortable, we got past that hump. Let's get back into it. You guys play the game, and unbeknownst to you, one of your players is a murder hobo. They think that the solution to all problems is violence, and I think the right thing to do in most situations is to allow other players to play the game that they enjoy. Some people might tell you, like, you got a murder hobo, like, kick him out of the group. Maybe that is warranted here, you know what I mean? But I think a conversation is warranted before kicking somebody out of the group. A real heart-to-heart conversation. That might make you uncomfortable, and that's totally normal too. It's like a social anxiety thing. I get it too. People think that just because I deal with conflict that I like it, but I don't. I hate conflict, but I know how to deal with it, because it's just a necessary part of life to have to deal with conflict. And this is one of those situations where it's a conflict, where you tell a player, like, hey, I get that you like playing the game a certain type of way, which is after this session, by the way. But you say, the other players didn't enjoy it, and I didn't enjoy it. I don't think it's fun when you just shoot everything to solve problems. There was other ways to solve the problem, and the only way that you thought was interesting was to shoot your gun. and you used that solution twice when it wasn't appropriate in my mind. And I'm not here to judge you on how you play, but the rest of us are not enjoying our time with you. So you can either, try something different, or maybe this isn't the group for you. And that's it. And I think that's respectful. I don't think there's anything disrespectful in what I just said. I don't think that I criticized anybody. I basically said, like, hey, it's okay that you're having fun, but we're not having fun. So either you can change and maybe find like a compromise where like you can have fun. And that's my job as a game master, by the way. I got to make sure there's going to be plenty of chances for you to shoot that shotgun, okay? And if you decide to change, or just go find another group, man. I'm sure there's plenty of folks out there that would love to play the same way you're playing, okay? Anyway, so what you did wrong here is you made an emotional decision that is disguised as a rational decision. The emotional decision was to have the police. You were so irritated by the shotgun player doing the same thing twice, which seemed inappropriate and derailed the entire game. And you said, well, you know what? You're all getting arrested now. You're all going to get arrested now, and you're all going to jail because of how you badly messed up everything. And I don't think that was the right decision either. I think the players should have had a chance to escape. They should have had a car chase, a police chase with the AV4 over their heads, and maybe an argument between the players in character saying, like, what the hell was that? You totally ruined everything. You ruined our plan. Now the police and Arasaka are after us. And look, that's a great beginning to a campaign, okay? But we're not going to start session 2 without having the conversation with Shotgun. We're not going to start session 2 without having the conversation. We could be like, look, Shotgun, we just got into a mess. We could continue this campaign, okay? We could continue this campaign where Arasaka and the police are both coming after you. And me as a game master, I'll try to spin it in a way where it'll be interesting. And maybe the police wanted that Arasaka exec dead, but they can't just go out and say, like, it's okay to murder an exec. So instead, a clandestine part of the NCPD comes to you and says, we have supplemental funding to be able to fund third-party contractors for some work that we have that we can't handle ourselves. And that's the guise of what happened. You just luckily killed the right exec, all right? You luckily killed the right exec. And maybe that's what the Netrunner finds in his database, that you luckily killed the right exec that the police have been trying to kill for a long time. Okay, for what reason? Maybe more corruption. Who knows? All right, that's something you can delve into later. But there's always a way to spin it. There's always a way to spin it. This is a movie where your players are the main characters, okay? So if it sounds ridiculous to you that you can spin it in that way, that's what movies are. Movies are ridiculous. Even real life is ridiculous in the way things happen, okay? But that's what makes them interesting, is they just... Look at the classic movie Blank Check, okay? How ridiculous is it that some guy gives a kid a blank check, the kid writes $1 million on it, and goes into a bank, and the bank gives him the money, okay? That's ridiculous. It's never going to happen. The bank's going to be like, all right, kid, you obviously should not have this check. Like, there's something going on. We're going to contact the owner of this check. Boom, it's resolved. But guess what? Now we don't have a good movie from the 90s, okay? So there's always a way to spin it. Now, thinking that you just got to kill everybody and like wipe clean slate, that's just, I think you're burning the planet when you have you know what I mean? You're burning the house down when you see a spider. That's what you're doing. So I don't think that that's the way to do it at all. It's the scorched earth of killing all the players, because at the end of the day, they made these characters, and they care about them. Even Shotgun cares about this character. So I think the only thing that should ever kill a character is the rules of the game, not some arbitrary decision, in my opinion. Even you could say, like, hey, your character is basically in jail, and I don't want to run a prison campaign. I want to run a city campaign. So you don't have to. I'm not going to kill your character, but they're in prison. Like, sorry, dude. Like, you guys committed a crime and you went to jail and they're in prison. So you got to make new characters. You know what I mean? I personally wouldn't do that, but I think that's better than a TPK. I think that's better than a TPK, slightly better. But the main issue here is you have two players that didn't enjoy their time there, all right? Well, actually three because the Netrunner. But the media was triggered by an idea in your story, and you didn't address it, and you didn't change it, and their feelings were basically felt invalidated, and they didn't want to rock the boat. They're like, I'll just suck it up, even though I don't like this topic. I'll just sit here, but I'm not going to be involved. And I don't think that's acceptable. You should have addressed that. Number two, you have a player whose play style is not in sync with the other players. And because of that, the other players suffered and the game master suffered. Number three, you had the Netrunner. The Netrunner was just trying to play the game. Unfortunately, they were okay with, maybe they didn't like some of the topics either, but they didn't voice any negative opinions. They were just trying to play the game, and they unluckily were set up with another player that plays in a way that is not appropriate to their style. So the reason you feel this way is you had everybody at the table not enjoy their game. I don't even think Shotgun enjoyed it, okay, because nobody else was joining them in the massacre. I'm sure there was tension, and Shotgun's just like, well, I guess they don't know how to play the game, or they don't know how to have fun, So maybe even Shotgun didn't have a good time. Once again, this is totally normal for first-time game masters. I wish my first time was this good, okay? My first time was not this good. People were falling asleep. I wish people actually felt something, okay? It was not a good time. I was not a good game master in the beginning. It took me time to get better. And there wasn't YouTube channels. There wasn't like Reddit and the internet the way that it is now. And I'm lucky. We're all fortunate to have that now. So there are plenty of tools there. So is this salvageable at the end of the day? That's what we want to know. Is this game salvageable? Yes, it is salvageable. If you recognize what triggered the media, address it, speak to them directly, tell them that you dropped the ball, that you should have changed it, you didn't want them to ever feel uncomfortable. Your intention was never for them to feel uncomfortable, and it's okay if there's like certain topics that they don't want to explore. And if it ever happens again, we'll stop right there and we'll change it, because the last thing I would want to do is make you feel uncomfortable and make you feel like you can't play in our game. All right? The second thing you need to do is call Netrunner and say, please, I apologize about what happened in our game. I know a lot of things were not in my control, but I feel like I dropped the ball on a couple things. I hope you enjoyed your time there. And you tell the media and the Netrunner, I'm going to talk to the solo Shotgun. I'm going to speak to Shotgun and get to the bottom of what happened, okay? And if we can't resolve it, I might kick them out of the group. I might kick Shotgun out of the group, okay? So that gives the other two players the thumbs up to be like, all right, maybe we can give this another chance. Maybe we can, if they haven't already signed off and said, I'm never coming back, they might be like, all right, you know what? This shows growth. I'll come back. So then once they say, if those two players say, yeah, we'll come back as long as you talk to Shotgun, then I say green light, go talk to Shotgun to try to salvage this group. If either of them are like, no, we're moving on, I don't really want to do it, then yeah, you only have one player. Let's say one says yes, the other says no. You only have one player, basically. Don't even talk to Shotgun. Disband the group. There's nothing you can do. Start anew with a new group of people, all right? And that's totally normal. That happens. But let's say the other two were like, yeah, all right, thanks for the conversation. Go talk to Shotgun, get back to us. You go to Shotgun, and you have the conversation that I told you about, telling them, if this isn't the way that you want to play, if you want to play in a way where you're just blasting everybody, that's not the kind of campaign that we want to run. The other players did not enjoy that game. They didn't enjoy that. and I don't think it's fair for only one person to have fun at the table. So either you can, try to think of other solutions to problems that don't involve violence, or you join another group that focuses on the violent part of the game, which is totally fine. That's totally fine. So there it is. That's my advice to you, Chum. I think this is a very interesting little topic. Oh, wow. That sounds distressing. Okay. So this is other people's suggestions. This is from Valhalla GH. Give me 1 second. So these are some other suggestions here. If you guys want to read this thread, I'm sure some other people have some ideas. This one has the most upvotes, 69, nice upvotes, saying Netrunner retired. The character looted a job and left town. Okay. Shotgun is an immoral murderer. He walked into a legal business and murdered one of his butt's going to be plugged into a brain dance. All right, so Valhalla is saying how to resolve the end of it. Sounds like a total party wipe. I don't agree. I know a lot of people upvoted this, but I don't agree with this assessment. Justice might be salvaged if she cuts a deal to testify against the murderer. This is still thinking. This is not addressing the issues that were happening in the game. This is just addressing the lore of the characters after the session is over. Sounds like a total party wipe. I mean, you can spin it that way, sure, but that doesn't mean that it has to be that way. But right here it says, since it happened in the first session during a low-key mission, this is a serious problem with the players. Exactly. Their expectations and intentions are completely disconnected from the campaign you tried to run. Alright, so this is why everybody uploaded it, in my opinion. I think this is the correct answer. You need to talk to each other to decide if this table can play together. Maybe you can't, and that's fine. Find another table. Maybe you can. If everyone can agree on a general tone of the game, about a common morality of the characters, and make characters that want to participate in the adventures, then you can come together as a table and play more. I hope that helps. Good luck, Chu. Yeah, that's exactly the same advice that I would say, just that ending part. Communication, setting expectations and intentions. If Shotgun intends and expects to be able to be violent and everywhere, it's not the same expectation and intention of everybody else, and we have a conflict there. The issues are bigger than the story. It's a conflict of players themselves for some reason. Is there some outside that we aren't told? Yeah, I mean, there is a disconnect. For example, right here where they said, what does Shotgun do? Yes, you got that right. He starts blasting. And then we have nothing in the middle, and they get arrested for the murder. So what happened in the middle? Did the police arrive? Did they fail? Did they fail in escaping? Did the game master even give them a chance to escape? What happened? Feels like there's a real world factor. Well, the only real world factor that I've seen is this game. This other player was triggered by the brainwashing of a worker. So I don't know. Do these two players just not like each other? That could be possible too. There might be something we're not reading in between the lines. This is from OP. Just explaining in-world stuff. To clarify, the theme wasn't within Justice's lines and veils in that she made it clear it's her character who has the problem, not her. Oh, that's a big difference. She also said it's fine if she gets some consequences for the action, my failure for not providing those. She says that she wants to tell the story of a highly idealistic person who wants to do good even if it's hopeless, only to learn it hard way that it actually is. She basically wants to tell the story of her character getting eventually killed for sticking to her ideals, apparently, now that I chat with her more. I mean, but she could have done that without being inactive. She could have been like, well, I'm not getting involved with this behavior chip unless we're burning this place to the ground or disabling all the chips. That's the moral high ground. for that player. There's some other stuff here. Yeah, I think it needed to be talked about anyway. It sounds like maybe the media still wasn't fully comfortable. I would have been like, I can't have you be inactive. You have to be involved. So if there's something you don't like or your character doesn't like, we have to change it. Okay? All right. That's about it, Chooms. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chooms, so much for watching. I really appreciate the support. This has been fun. Thank you to Luke the Goon for coming on and having a great time. Man, I love doing this. Hopefully we'll get another guest on and do this one more time. I really appreciate it, guys. Have a wonderful 4th of July. I hope your doggos are not too scared of the fireworks. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Okay? Have a good one. Bye.